On today's Glory Days show, it's rivalry week here in the New York metropolitan area as our sports teams all face off against each other in basketball, hockey, and football.
And the last time the Islanders played the Rangers, the Knicks took on the Nets, and the Jets and Giants faced each other in the same week was 27 years ago.
Wow.
We'll talk about all the games, plus have Islander columnist and podcaster Brian Gallof on the hotline.
And in our Did You Hear About segment, our favorite paraplegic murderer, Oscar Pistorius, is in the news again. The minor league home run king is retiring, and wait until you see what turned up on a plate of chicken fingers in a sports bar restaurant.
The best hour of your sports week is coming up on Glory Days right now.
Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. Today is Saturday, December 5th, 2015, and you are watching The Glory Day Show with Bruce and Disco. My name is Paul Discofani. This is my good friend, Bruce Oler. Kyle Melnick and Eric Mikhailov are behind the glass, and you're joining us on the Inravio TV network, broadcasting live from Studio C in the great state of New York. Good morning.
How are you today?
Tired.
Yeah, well, you went to the Islander game last night,
Yeah,
right?
I went to my first Islander game at the Barclays Center.
Yeah, I'm going to do that in a few weeks. So I'm interested in hearing, the logistics, traveling and things like that.
That was it was a strange thing. You know, normally from the Nassau Coliseum, it's half hour, 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah, probably from Massapequa. For me, it's a bit longer coming from Suffolk,
But it took, from the time the game ended till I got back to my car was just about 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, so for you Islander fans who haven't been there, it's a beautiful building. It really is.
Yeah.
But it's not a hockey building.
And I guess, they haven't been selling out or anything like that. Although I don't think they were selling out the Coliseum probably until like the last couple of months of last season too,
Right. But and to be honest with you, I don't see how they could sell out that building.
Yeah.
They have a lot of seats that are blacked out.
Yeah.
That you just can't see.
And they say the angles aren't that good. I mean, I guess they're, some of them, I guess you have to look this way.
Yeah, there's a whole section that faces towards what would be center court for basketball.
Yeah.
And that works just fine, except that the hockey arena is this much longer.
Is it?
So where if you were watching a basketball game, you would only have to slightly turn your head to see the basket. But to see the other net, you have to go this way while your seat is this way. It's a very...
wow, so you could really screw up your back or your neck, I guess, huh?
It's kind of like, I guess, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe some of the things that we saw.
You have to be a contortionist, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the place, and we'll get into this a little bit later when we get B.D. Gallof on the phone, because he's been tracking some of the biggest complaints that people
I'm interested in hearing that. Yeah, I am.
But it's an arena that was built for basketball.
Or for concerts.
And concerts, so the entire arena is built so that the basketball court is here, and behind one end of the basketball court is where the stage would be. So
I see. Yeah, I know. I guess
there.
I noticed that. That it looked like there was behind one of the nets. I guess
there's nothing. There's a wall.
One of the goals. I guess
There's nothing. There's nothing there.
Yep.
And the seats that overhang are too close to the ice. You could look down.
Okay, kind of like in the Pepsi porch or something.
Yeah, so that all the seats behind the
man,
point of your vision is just completely
That's ridiculous.
blocked.
That's ridiculous.
So Two things, though, that annoyed me.
Yeah.
Okay? Number one, the Stanley Cup banners. Okay? Remember how at Nassau Coliseum they used to hang them,
hang
them
right from the
over
rafters,
the ice?
yeah.
Right, okay. They don't do that. They're up in the rafters.
Yeah, so you can't see them?
You could see them, but what they did is they duplicated them so that one side is this and one side is that. But
I
they're
see.
all on one side of the stadium. And there's all the rafters in the way. So you can't see the ones that are on the other side.
I see.
So on the other side from where we were sitting were all the retired numbers. You can't see them. And when you look at the Stanley Cup banners, the lights that are shining through them are showing the reflection of the opposite thing. So you
geez.
almost can't read them.
Jeez, okay.
And then remember all the blue and orange conference title flags and
Yeah.
division champion. They don't have that anymore. They now have one flag that has all the years on
Oh,
it.
jeez. So is that both your complaints or what?
Oh, no, I have other complaints.
Okay, all right.
I have other complaints.
I do want to switch gears here for a minute, okay?
Go ahead.
And maybe this is more of a public service announcement than anything else, okay?
And you know,
Okay.
here on this program, we want to take care of the public.
That's right, that's right. So Tuesday, around lunchtime, I got a phone call from my mother, and she's looking for my wife's phone number, cell phone number. It struck me a little curious, you know. I mean, but she doesn't talk to my mother all that often. If she did, my mother would call the house. Is what it is, you know. And so I said, I wasn't in a place where I could give her the phone number right. I don't have it committed to memory because I got it in my phone memory, you know.
I don't know anybody's phone number anymore.
And so my mother called me back like 10 minutes later. Where's that number? Where's that number? You know. And all I'm thinking is, well, maybe she's wants to know what to get me for Christmas or something. You know, it's always, as my wife said to me later on, said, "Isn't it always about you?" And I said, well, I guess so. I guess so. But like I said, I was a little bit curious about what might be going on, but I didn't know too much. And then when my wife came home, she tells me that she got a call from my mother. And it turns out that my mother got a call from supposedly some law authorities down in one of the islands down in the Caribbean or something, okay? And that my son had been arrested, okay? And that, to keep him out of jail, that they were looking for like $1,500 or something like that, you know? So, Chris said, well, Justin, I dropped him at work today, you know what I mean? He's not in the Caribbean, because they said he was at a wedding and he got involved in a car accident or something like that, you know? So, I mean, you hear about those scams all the time, I guess.
You know what, sometimes I always wondered if they were really true.
Yeah, but, I mean, that really happens. And then, for whatever reason, my sister wasn't around, because usually she's working out of the house these days, so she was at work. And so my mother wanted to call my brother. My brother wound up calling these guys, and he said he was pretty convinced that it was legit, too. But he said, you should call and find out, make sure that Justin is where they say he is, and
But where was he? Wasn't he at work?
He was at work. Yeah, exactly. So, and then the next day, my sister said that she went to choir practice. She sings in the choir at church, and about 2 or 3 other people got similar calls.
That same day, or
Yeah,
during the course of the
wow. That similar same day.
You should have just told your mother, yeah, Ma, just send me $1,500. I'll send it to them.
Well, then you start wondering, is it an inside job? Maybe my son's got something cooking up with a friend or something like that too. Which I hate to think that, but I mean, for them to know so much, that this was his grandmother, and what my mother said is basically first. Before she talked to the authorities, it was like somebody that sounded like it was Justin saying, "Hi, Grandma, it's Justin," and then all of a sudden this other guy jumped on the phone, and started, talking about the fact that,
They had somebody impersonating?
Yeah, that's what
So
it
they had
sounds
the
like.
name, and they had the...
And they knew what the relationship was and everything,
Wow, they're doing their due diligence.
I guess so, man. So if you
So
got
what's
anybody
your,
out there, listening, only gets a phone call about something like that, I would be skeptical. I would definitely check it out to make sure that it's legit before I went and sent anybody any money.
I still know your mother's telephone number.
798-759.
Don't
Oh, I
say
shouldn't be
that
giving that out.
It was me.
Okay. It was, okay.
It was an inside job. It costs a lot to go to a hockey game now.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Wow.
So that's my story. I thought it was kind of a weird situation.
So
and then the other thing is, last Saturday I went to a tree lighting ceremony in the town of Sayville.
Okay.
And the reason I went there is I got some friends, the Lynx, Suzanne and Brian, and their tree was chosen to be the tree to use to be the town tree.
So they took a tree
They
from
cut
their
the tree
property.
down. They cut the tree down or whatever. So they were like the guests of honor.
Now, do they get money for that?
Well, no, they didn't. And I said, you should check with your accountant because to me, that's a donation. You should be able to, claim that as a donation.
I'm wondering if is that an honor or a tragedy that they killed the tree for that?
Well, they were looking to cut the tree down anyway, is what they said. So it worked out.
So they got free tree
removal. It was pretty good for them. Yeah, exactly. But it was a nice night, and they had them come up and say a few words. They said they were going to let them light the tree, but that didn't happen. One of the politicians, I guess, flipped the switch or whatever.
Well, that's not right. The people who own the tree should have been.
Yep. And now we remember back to when they had that Iran hostage situation,
right? When
Jimmy Carter was president, and he had Amy was supposed to light the tree.
Yes.
I don't remember that ceremony, and President Carter says, now Amy's going to light the tree, and she flipped the switch, and nothing happened. And then what Jimmy Carter said, and I thought this was one of the coolest things he did. He said these lights don't go on until his hostages are home, is what he said. So he was making a statement.
Well, they didn't go home until he was out.
Well, that's right. As soon as they knew Ronald Reagan was coming in office, they let go of those hostages pretty quickly after that, right?
That's exactly right. All righty.
So it's rivalry week this week, though. So we're going to get into the rivalries. The big game is tomorrow, the Jets and the Giants. It's a significant game for both teams.
Well, the thing is that New York sports fans, they probably don't realize how privileged we are. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have multiple franchises in the same sport.
Yeah.
Okay. The city of Chicago, they have 2 baseball teams.
Right, but that's it, right?
But they only have 1 team in hockey and basketball and football.
Right.
Okay. You got like Florida and Los Angeles, and California have multiple teams.
Yeah.
But not in the same
Well, the
city.
only thing I would say is maybe Anaheim and LA, I guess, maybe with hockey, and I always remember that commercial, I don't know what it was for, but, it was this gal and this guy that were going to meet at this bar or whatever, and they're going through the crowd, they finally meet each other, and one's wearing a Kings jersey and one's wearing a Anaheim Duck jersey, and that was it, man,
We have built-in rivalries with the Mets and the Yankees, the Islanders, Rangers, the Knicks, the Nets. Mm-hmm. Even if the Jets and the Giants play in New Jersey.
Yeah, that's true.
It's still the New York Giants and the New York Jets,
Yep.
But this was a rare week. All 3 winter sports franchises were playing each other. The Islanders and the Rangers faced off on Wednesday. The Knicks and the Nets last night, and the Jets and the Giants capped things off on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So we'll save our discussion about the best and the most fierce of these rivalries, the Islanders and Rangers, for the next segment of the show, when we'll have Islander columnist and podcaster Brian Gallof on the hotline. But let's talk about there was Knicks and the Nets last night.
Yeah, and that was a blowout. The Knicks killed the Nets last night,
But that rivalry, just for some reason, has never seemed to take off.
Yeah. Well, I was doing a little, I know when we were talking about this, I did a little research, of course, because the internet is my source for all my information, useless information. But, so I wanted to know what makes a great rivalry. Okay, so this is in no particular order. Geographic proximity, I think, that's a good one,
Mm-hmm.
Aggressive action by one party over the other, okay?
That's true.
Switching allegiances and backstabbing. Maybe there was a great game that happened sometime where from that point forward, you always want to, give it back to these guys or whatever. Local pride and
local pride is that's what they call bragging rights.
That's right. And or subversive actions. The only things that I would add to that is, there's always an inferiority complex. If you think about the Rangers and the Islanders, the Rangers, were the established team. The Islanders were the up and comer. So you always want to, show up
the big brother syndrome.
The dad.
You've got the established Yankees, the established Knicks, the established Giants, and the established Rangers, and these other. Their rivalries were built based on. I think they started being built on geographics, that they play in the same town. But I think the biggest thing was that the people that weren't Giant fans, now they had a team to root for.
That's right.
I know that's what happened.
And you always want to beat that team for acceptance, I think, is what it is. Like I say, I think that's the inferiority complex I was talking about there.
Can we put that graphic back up for the Knicks? The Knicks and the Nets. So the Knicks and the Nets have played 190 times. Okay, but look at how close it is.
Yeah, 91 to 89.
91 to 89. Now the Knicks have won 2 of 3 playoff series, but that was when the Knicks were good.
Yeah.
The Nets beat them pretty bad the last time they were in the playoffs in 2004. They swept them. You know, and they've only met in the first round in the playoffs. But again, the Nets were started out in the ABA.
Right.
Okay.
On Long Island.
On Long Island with the Islanders at the Coliseum. Well, actually at the what was that?
Comac Arena.
Comac Arena, right?
The Island Arena, yeah.
And then it just never took off, and I never understood. I guess because they were never, maybe because they were never good at the same time.
Yeah.
And they really, I think the Islander-Ranger rivalry took off during the playoffs.
I think so too.
You know, I mean, they played 8 times in the playoffs, and I believe that 2 of the 3 times that the Islanders won the Stanley Cup, they had to go through the Rangers.
Yeah, at least that. I mean, they were showing that as in part of the pregame last Wednesday night when they played. And then they talked about 1994. That was the year the Rangers won. You know, because they talk about, you know, the Islander fans always throwing 1940 at the Ranger fans. You know, and since 94 we haven't been able to do that. Now we're going to start hearing 1980 is what we're going to hear. Or 1984 probably is the last time we won, right? You know.
So the other big thing, obviously, is the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah.
Now, the Jets and the Giants, again, it doesn't seem to be a rivalry. And when they were talking to the players about it, the players, they you know, in the NFL, every game matters.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there's only 16 of them.
Right. So it's very rare when the 2 teams meet at all because obviously they play in different conferences.
Right.
But they've played 12 times, and the Giants have won 8 of the 12 games.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last 5 in a row. But to me, the one that I remember the most was the last time they played.
Christmas Eve, you're talking about.
Right, in
Yeah,
2011.
when Victor Cruz went 99 yards just before halftime, and that kind of sealed our fate, and we kind of went in the toilet. And I think the Giants went on to win the
Giants won the
Super Bowl that year.
The last 2 times the Giants won the Super Bowl, they beat the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do remember having, when we had Rocky on the phone, we were talking about that, because, you know, they always play each other in the preseason. Of course, there was a famous one a few years ago where Rex Ryan was trying to win the game, and he throws Geno Smith in a garbage time, and Geno Smith gets hurt, and that was it.
Right.
But I do remember, you know, Rocky saying that they also used to play a basketball game against each other. I think he said it was in Staten Island.
Yes,
remember. And I remember he said there was a fight one time with Zeke Moat, I think his name came up in the conversation, tight end for the Giants.
You know, but this game on Sunday, it really means a lot more to the Jets than it does to the Giants. I mean, obviously both teams need to win.
Right.
But the Giants can lose, and look at the rest of their division.
Right.
Dallas, Philadelphia, Washington. The Giants could win their division at 7-9.
Right.
They could still win this division.
Yeah,
but the Jets
need they're in a wild card, and
Right.
they're not even one of the qualifying teams right now, so they have to keep on winning.
You know, and it's a Giant home game. You know, we don't have Sammy Stone today.
Well, that's too bad. That's right. He's missing in action, I guess.
Missing in action.
All right. Well, anyway, we're just getting started here on the Glory Days show. Right after the break, we'll get in depth about the Islanders with Brian Gallof and talk about their rivalry with the Rangers. Later on, we'll talk about some stories that you may not have heard about in our "Did You Hear About" segment. Stay with us. You're watching the Glory Days show with Bruce and Disco, only on the Inravio TV network. Coming right back.
over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
It's always been important to us to have music a part of our lives, part of our children's lives. At Village Music Shop, Bonnie and Chuck have not only made it possible for our kids to learn and understand and read music and enjoy playing a musical instrument, but they've also made it fun.
I really like coming here. I like coming to Village Music because everybody here is nice.
And they've inspired some creativity and imagination and taught them discipline. And along the way, they've gotten some self-confidence, really been like a part of our family.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Welcome back to the Glory Days Show with Bruce and Disco here on the Inravio TV network. There's nothing like an Islander-Ranger game, and the Islanders and Rangers play this week. Mets and Yankees, that might have an intense first couple of years, but the interest has waned during the years, and the Mets were not that competitive. Knicks and Nets should be rivals, but for some reason, they just aren't. Jets and the Giants play so infrequently, most of the players don't even think it's a rivalry at all. But Islanders-Rangers has been so intense even when the teams were going in opposite directions. Maybe it's because the teams have battled in the playoffs on numerous occasions and not just during the regular season. On our phone today is good friend of Glory Days who loves cigars and photography, but his passion is hockey. He's a writer for the website The Fourth Period, and it's a podcast that can be found on islesbeat.com. Please welcome BD Gallof. BD, how are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good, thanks. Good. Yeah. I was enjoying the Islanders beating the Rangers, although, a shootout's kind of a little bit of an asterisk there. I mean, yeah.
Hey, BD, have you been to the Barclays Center yet?
No, I've had a changeover. I've moved to Suffolk County in the last 2 years, and I actually am now just started working in Suffolk County. Mm-hmm. So it's actually been horrendously tough to even schedule with two small kids trying to get over there. So I've kind of put it off for now.
I know you've been going back and forth with fans on Twitter, and you've talked about it on your podcast about the people's complaints and stuff. I actually went last night. It was my first chance to go, and I 100% agree with what everybody's been complaining about. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful building, but it is not a hockey building.
Yeah, unfortunately, their intention originally was to have it for hockey and basketball, and then I think they had to get a shovel in the ground much quicker to get some sort of, very large tax breaks, and they were all put in a rush, and they ended up going with the model of what's over in Indiana that the Pacers use, and basically went from there. And at the time, to be honest, the Islanders weren't, were still kind of, sparring with Nassau County and the town of Hempstead over the Lighthouse Project and everything else. So it wasn't like the Islanders were exactly, they could depend on a team being available. So.
But I think they spent so much money, but I think they pigeonholed themselves by building. I guess they expected, obviously without the Islanders, I mean, if the Islanders weren't going to come there, it's not like another hockey team was going to come there. But even to do things like ice shows and the Holiday on Ice the Disney on Ice and stuff, I think they short-sighted themselves because it's just almost impossible. I mean, it's only half a crowd. Mm-hmm. That's all that they have there, and It's a very strange dynamic. We're Met fans here, and I don't know, how often you get out to Citi Field or Shea Stadium, but when Citi Field first opened, it kind of felt like nobody was there watching the game. Because everybody was just kind of looking around.
Like
and
checking out the new stadium, the new digs.
Right,
Yeah.
and this was kind of like the same thing. I'm telling you, for the first 15, 20 minutes, I'd say maybe even the whole first period, I was looking all around. And I wasn't really paying attention
And
to
now
what
the
was
way the
going
Islanders have
on.
been playing, they have not been playing. It's almost like they show up starting the second period, man. We had Pete Torgerson on the phone with us some time ago, and he was saying really the Islanders are playing 82 away games this year. If you think about the fact that they don't go home after their morning skate on a game day or anything like
Right.
that, they're holed up in a hotel room is what they're doing. It's a shame. It really is.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's an adjustment that is not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's a 25-year lease, and despite any wordage to the opposite, they're not going to be leaving that venue. So the situation is, hopefully Barclays themselves are just waiting to assess after this year and can see what they can do to make more money, because they're the ones that are footing the bill. They're the ones giving the Islanders the guaranteed money per year, and it's up to them to fill the seats.
Yeah.
It's up
Right.
to them to reap, if it's worth it to them to do any kind of changes. Especially, I feel like the biggest issue is the one where the sight line, the sight is impeded. You can't even see the goalie, the goaltender. You can't even see the bottom two lines.
Right. I mean, if you could imagine, there's an entire end of the arena that there's nobody in. There's no seats.
Yeah.
I don't even think
Yeah.
they're selling those seats anymore. They had covers over them.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to a concert
Right.
and they don't have they don't sell the
Yeah,
seats
they
behind
Behind the stage.
They cover the seats.
Yeah, and that is something they need to figure out a solution for. People that complain about the scoreboard's not centered. Well, guess what? That's never changing.
Yeah.
Things like that are not as important, but that seating arrangement is something that hopefully Barclays comes up with some creative solutions.
You know what? I was trying to think that, because I don't want to be that guy that just came in complaining the entire time. Oh, it's not this, it's not that. I didn't want to do that. So I was trying to look at it objectively. But I don't see what they could do unless they reconfigure the whole bottom section. And they reconfigure the permanent seats, and they you know what I mean? They'd have to reconfigure everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, that looks like a lot of construction for a brand
Well,
new
but
building.
look what the Rangers did. I mean, MSG, right? I mean, for a couple of years they were refurbishing it on the inside,
Yes.
off season and things like that.
Exactly, and exactly. They did it as an ongoing basis, and they'll need to bring in some creative consultants to come in and give ideas.
And actually, some of the complaints were the same basic complaints that they had when Citi Field opened. Citi Field is the home of the Mets, and you wouldn't know it from being inside Citi Field. The seats were green. The ushers were wearing red jackets. It's the same thing here. There's no Islander stuff anywhere in the building. But to be honest, there's no Nets stuff either.
Yeah.
It's a generically black building.
Probably a lot of Jay-Z there, though, man.
The walls are black. It looks like the Coliseum. You know how in the roof of the Coliseum they have all the rafters? It looks like the same thing, only instead everything is just black.
Yeah.
It's a dark building.
But the Islanders are playing pretty good hockey
They
right
are.
now, man. So despite all that,
Yeah, I mean they're fourth in the conference. They're sixth overall in the NHL. And despite the fan complaints, which has been many, I think that fans are a little bit shell-shocked with the changes, and that you can understand, and it's going to take some adjustment. So it's really kind of rolling through. So everything gets exaggerated. Every losing streak, every every loss is complaints, and they want to fire the coach. But overall, they're doing very well.
They are.
They in the beginning weren't playing their best, and they're still kind of shaking it out. But overall, they're doing pretty good. Ryan Strome has come back and starting to do some scoring and got an assist last night.
I mean,
So-
they're not scoring a lot of goals,
Yeah.
but Halak is
well-
number 2 in goals against average.
Yeah, BD, what's your biggest surprise for the Islanders this year? I mean, for me, I think it's the second goaltender who's been playing just lights out. He was great last night.
He was great
you
last
know?
night.
Yeah,
Grease?
Grice is
Grice,
somebody
yeah.
that they actually targeted the year before, and they weren't able to get him. He went to Pittsburgh, so they had to go, to Chad Johnson, who didn't work out. Obviously, they saw something in Grice over all the other players, so when they had the opportunity again, that was their priority. And I remember talking to them over the summer, and people were complaining they didn't go out and get this, but this forward.
Yeah.
But there's a crowd of forwards. I can understand that their priority was to get the backup goaltender that they wanted,
Right.
and then they wanted some depth, and they wanted that extra defenseman, that vet, which they got with Zidlicky. And so far they've looked brilliant because of that.
They have. I mean, the thing that bothers me is what's going to happen with Hamonic here. I mean, everybody knows that he's requested a trade and things like. They were talking about it on the rivalry game Wednesday night between periods and things like that.
Yep.
And Garth Snow, I think, is in a tough position to get really the value that he wants. I mean, he's a great player, Travis Hamonic. He's like a number 1, a number 2, or a number 3 defenseman probably on any team in the NHL.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it seems like that's not what's being offered for him in exchange right now.
Yeah, and it seemed when it got publicized, and I really think that the team that leaked that was Winnipeg, because
It wasn't the
it's
Rangers?
the most likely who gains by putting all the pressure on the Islanders because Hamonic wants to go home. Well, home is Winnipeg,
Right.
and I think that backfired because what's basically happened, it created an auction for a little bit, and then Garth wasn't getting the value. And basically all the team, right before Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving Day, I heard that all the talks broke off.
Yeah.
So, and since all the rumors have basically stopped. So that seems to be the case. And I think there's a reality here of, unless there's some talk before the holiday trade freeze or the trade deadline itself, and Garth is getting what he wants, he will not trade Hamonic.
No, you
Hamonic is
can't.
under contract. He can just want to, and make a request any time, but the team is not going to shoot itself in the foot
Yeah.
to move him. And I think that I think that's been very clear from what I've heard from the Islanders. Is if they don't get what they feel is the proper compensation, they're not going to deal him. And even if it goes after the season, at the NHL draft, if they don't feel that they're getting the value that they want, the higher probability, especially in talking to them this week, is that he doesn't get moved at all.
Yeah.
So it's really going to depend. So I don't think that anybody that thinks that Garth is going to just take it, and shoot themselves in the foot and take whatever's out there, I don't think so. I think that's understood by Hamonic and his agent.
They've got
try to do it.
They've got him. I think he's got 3 years left, 2 years left on a contract.
And it's not a high-paying contract
No,
either.
it's a bargain. One of the great values. Besides, I really think he's maybe on a lesser team he could be a top pairing, but I think in a playoff team that he really belongs. He's a really good third defenseman.
Right.
And that top 4 defensemen don't come cheaply, and they're really not dealt that often. And sometimes there's certain defensemen that are one-dimensional. Hamonic is not one-dimensional, and that value. The Islanders are going to look for if they can make a trade and get a guy that they feel is top 4, that has they can use it as an opportunity to find, hey, well, you could use somebody with a little bit more offensive upside.
Right.
Then they'll take advantage of it. But
I was
really going to
watching
depend on the
him-
other teams.
I was watching him with a different eye last night, just kind of focusing on him, and he does a lot of really good things
he's
away
a good
from
player.
the puck.
He's a good player.
You know?
I guess the good news is that he's not letting his request for the trade really affect his play. I mean,
No.
he's going out there and he's playing great every night. You know.
Yeah, he's not, and he's he's a very good character. That's one of the things
That's a good character.
Well,
And
I
that's the
haven't
other
liked
thing.
his-
He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a character guy. And look at what happened in the playoffs this year without him. We
Yeah.
really missed him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially that Game 7.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some people have tried to turn it. Oh, he's being a jerk, trying to request a trade. Look, he made a request. It was a private request that nobody was supposed to know about, and then another team decided to leak it out. He wanted it done quietly. His teammates didn't even know about it, and the Islanders will attempt to accommodate him. And if they can't do it without hurting the team, it's not going to be done. And I think that Hamonic and his agent know that. Whether it doesn't happen this year, doesn't happen next year, guess what? If it doesn't happen ever, he signed a contract. He's under contract. That's
I mean, I know they're trying to do the
right.
I know they're trying to do the right thing here for the player, and of course it would look good for the organization. But they're not just going to give him away.
Well, I mean, the bottom line, though, is that he didn't give him an ultimatum saying, trade me or else. I mean, he said, hey, I'd like to get traded. I need to be closer to home and things like that. So, it's just too bad that it's out there in the public right now because, like you say, I mean, everybody's looking to fleece Garth Snow in a situation, and Garth Snow is not going to get fleeced, I don't think.
No, he won't. He's one of those guys that will not blink, and I think that this leaking was done to put pressure on him, and all it's going to do is entrench him.
Yeah.
I think it backfired. And the only GM and organization I can think about that could have done that is to me, is the team that that gains the most by it being publicized.
Yeah.
So
well, the only other team I would suspect would be the Rangers because of the rivalry aspect.
Well,
and why not screw up the Islanders if you can? Any chance you get.
Yeah, but when they're trying to deal them, to be in a place that I feel is like basically a straight. One of the issues with New York is that there's if any, non-stops to Winnipeg, so it's usually a two-plane and two-stop endeavor. So it takes an entire day. So I've been looking at teams that have basically, have non-stops. You have, Minnesota, it's an hour away. You have Colorado, which is only 2 hours and change away.
Okay.
You have all those, any of those teams, even in theory, if they didn't do Western Conference, you could have Ottawa is a 3-hour nonstop. Toronto is a 2-hour nonstop. So I've been looking at those, but we've seen the usual suspects. I think that Calgary has been very interested, but they're not willing. I think the Islanders have really wanted Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah, and
probably for good reason. And I think that teams like Colorado with Tyson Barrie, there are some players out there. It really depends on those teams. I think Edmonton, every time there's a rumor about Edmonton, I think it's just not happening because I don't think Edmonton's willing to pay, and Edmonton has so many other issues. And their real boon is to trade forwards, not defensemen.
Right.
So, and the Islanders' priority is, hey, we're not getting a forward. We need to replace Hamonic. It's about winning now. And you can see where the team is in the league. You can understand that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's defense or else.
Let's talk about winning now. We're running up against a break here. Just quickly, is this team gonna do some damage in the playoffs this year? The way it's currently formulated.
I think so. As long as everybody, it's about health.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah, only real true like Chicago with Patrick Kane being out last year and then coming back in the playoffs. Very few teams can handle big losses, and the Islanders are going to be, at stake at that as well. So I think it's they are very capable going further into further than the first round of the playoffs, and they really need to focus and be consistently where they are now or better, and they can do some damage.
Alrighty.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so, man.
Let's go out.
I mean, when they scored that goal last night, the building came alive for the first time. And I know that there wasn't a tremendous amount of hitting going on in that game last night, and it was
pretty hot for the Ranger game.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That is true.
Yeah.
But that was
it really
because
depends on the crowd. It was a light crowd last night too.
This crowd last night reminded me of 3 or 4 years ago, what it was like at the Coliseum. Like against the game against Winnipeg and stuff like that. Yeah. All right, BD, let me properly promote your podcast. Where can we hear you?
You can hear me on, we have a site called islesbeat.com, and we put up our podcast there and also some quick blogs. I also write for thefourthperiod.com, and you can follow me on Twitter, BDGALLOF, BD Gallof on Twitter, and catch me there.
If you're a hockey fan, you need to follow BD Gallof.
Let's go Islanders.
Let's go Islanders, man. Hey, BD, thanks a lot for taking the time out today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we'll talk again. Thanks.
You got it.
All righty, we're going to take another break here on Glory Days, and when we get back, we'll catch up on some stories that you may not have heard about. Stay with us. You're watching the Glory Days show with Bruce Disco, only on the Inravio TV network. We're coming right back, and so should you.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Welcome back to the Glory Days Show with Bruce Disco here on the Inravio TV network. If you're a sports fan, and why would you be watching this program if you weren't, you know that you can get all the scores and highlights instantly from other sources on the internet, like ESPN. But here on the Glory Days Show, we pride ourselves on trying to find the types of story that would interest you, our twisted yet sophisticated audience. The bizarre, the maudlin, the humorous, and of course, the completely ridiculous. We call this segment, Did You Hear About? Story number one is an update to Did You Hear About story that we brought you earlier this year. Back in August, we at Glory Days brought you the story of minor league home run king Mike Hessman, an infielder for the AAA Toledo Mudhens in the Detroit Tigers system, who set the record for the most home runs by a player in the American minor leagues when he hit a grand slam for his 433rd home run, breaking the record of that famous Buzz Arlett.
Not Buzz Aldrin?
No, he played in the minors. That was his uncle. He played in the minors in 1918. But did you hear about how the real-life Crash Davis, who was portrayed by Kevin Costner in the baseball film Bull Durham, he finally announced his retirement from professional baseball?
Wow.
Hespen was selected by Atlanta in the 15th round of the 1996 draft, and although he hasn't been productive enough for an extended stay in the majors, he always did show good power, even hitting 5 home runs in 12 games for the Tigers in 2008. And that same year, he was a member of the bronze medal-winning U.S. team at the Beijing Olympics. The 37-year-old Hespen played a total of 109 games in the major leagues for Detroit, Atlanta, and our New York Mets.
He played for the Mets, huh?
He did. He played for the Mets. Actually, that was his last team.
I see.
He hit 14 home runs in the majors, but he only hit 188 overall. And he plans to pursue a career as a coach. You know, them minor league players, they're the type of guys that, you know, they make good coaches.
They do. They do.
You know, so good luck, Mike
Hats
Hespen.
off to Mike
Hats off to
Hespen.
Mike
Okay. All right. Good for him. Good for him. Story number 2 is also an update from a continuing story that we have been bringing you for over a year now. Our favorite convicted murderer and paraplegic. I didn't know we have a lot of paraplegic favorites. Okay.
Well, he's our
I think
favorite.
I think it's the only
convicted
one that we
murderer.
know, really, to tell you the truth. Oscar Pistorius was in the news again this week. The legless runner, who was released from prison just 2 months ago and placed under house arrest, is facing a new prison sentence of 15 years after South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeals overturned his conviction on the lesser charge of manslaughter in the 2013 shooting of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. The 29-year-old Pistorius had served a year in the prison of his 5-year sentence following 2014 conviction for culpable homicide in the killing of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, whom he claims he mistook for an intruder. Reva was screaming at him and cowering inside the bathroom stall at his apartment when he shot her 5 times with a shotgun. The judge that found him negligent in Steenkamp's death said he did not believe he committed murder and he did not intend to kill her.
I always wondered what he thought he intended to do.
Yeah, I don't know. The prosecution has always maintained that the former Olympian shot Steenkamp during an argument, blasting her through a bathroom door in his home. But the defense argued that he killed her by mistake, thinking she was an intruder.
You know, because most intruders, when they're trying to rob you,
Right,
they
go to-
run into the bathroom.
Exactly.
Everybody,
You know why? Because they're so, I don't know, so disheveled or something. I don't know.
They just usually have to take a dump in the middle of things.
Well, you know, when I worked at the bank, that's what they usually told me would happen. Is somebody would get so nervous, that's what they do. They would have to go to the bathroom. You know.
So if a guy is going like
yeah, if
this,
he's squirming like you got to worry about that. Anyway, a 5-judge panel delivered the ruling that said, in part, the accused ought to have been found guilty of murder on the basis that he fired the fatal shots with criminal intent. As a matter of common sense, at the time the fatal shots were fired, the possibility of death of the person behind the door was clearly obvious. Clearly is an obvious result, the judge said. And in firing not 1, but 4 shots, such a result became even more likely.
you know, that makes sense.
It does.
You know what would have happened in this country? He'd be out already. He'd be out on parole, hopping around.
In October, the South Africa Parole Board approved his placement under house arrest and correctional supervision for the next 4 years. Now that he's been found guilty of murder, the minimum sentence under South African law is 15 years. However, there is some wiggle room. I don't know how he can wiggle, okay? That would allow judges to apply some discretion. Since South Africa law does not make provision for someone to be placed under house arrest for more than 5 years, Pistorius will be going back to prison. Although he was not present in the courtroom when his decision was handed down, he will need to appear for final sentencing in January.
So I wonder if, like Len Dykstra, this closes the book on Oscar Pistorius on the Glory Days show.
One would hope so, but you know, I mean, we thought we were done with Lenny Dykstra some time ago too, and didn't he just show up again a couple of weeks ago?
All right. And
One more.
finally,
Okay.
Mr. Bruce, do you like chicken fingers?
I love chicken fingers.
Okay. Well, you know the ones I'm talking about. The boneless.
Actually, I like boneless wings probably
Yeah,
more
well,
than chicken
well,
fingers.
we're
I mean,
talking
so
about
what's the difference between a boneless
cheap
chicken?
fry. Well, I actually like the buffalo chicken fingers. You know, usually they serve it with a side of blue cheese dressing, celery sticks. I like them better than the chicken wings because they have more meat on them.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to deal with the tiny little bones. And there's a picture of some chicken wings.
Yeah, I got you.
That way.
I see.
So, you don't have to deal with them. And also, sometimes with the chicken wings, you fight over who gets the wing part and who gets the drumstick
Oh,
part.
yeah, that's right.
They have a little moment.
You always tell somebody, look over there. You grab the last leg that's left.
Well, most restaurants have solved the problem of the meat by serving chicken fingers
Right,
instead.
or boneless wings. We'll have them tomorrow at TGI Fridays.
Well,
as a matter of
it
fact.
takes the work out of
There
it,
you
you
go.
know. Actually, chicken wings and and chicken fingers are a staple at most sports-themed restaurants, and that's where we're going to go tomorrow. You have them at Super Bowl parties, get together.
Right.
Well, I want you to take a close look at this particular chicken finger.
Oh,
Can we break that? There you go. Okay. This photo was posted on the website Reddit by a worker called Donnie Geesky at an unnamed sports-themed restaurant.
At least he's circumcised. That's all I can say.
He said that they didn't notice it when the dish was sent out, but that the customer called the server over and pointed it out.
Okay.
Okay. The server didn't want anything to do with it. It was brought back into the kitchen and briefly posed with and then thrown away.
I see.
It seemed the patron was definitely amused and was taking picture with it, but in the end, she was just too weirded out.
Oh, it was a she that got it, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
She was
Okay.
just too weirded out to stomach the thing. Well, I guess it was just, too much to swallow.
A little more tongue, a little less teeth, right?
If that was on your plate, would you have eaten that?
No, I would not. I would have sent it back.
Just
I mean, I don't think I've ever sent anything back in my life, to tell you the truth. That might, if that showed up, I would have to consider sending it back.
I would wonder if, you could have actually taken a knife and cut it, like Lorena Bobbitt.
Oh my
Thus
goodness.
ends the disgusting portion of our show, because every male in our audience right now is going, ow.
That's gotta hurt.
We're almost out of time here at the Glory Day Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will wrap up for the weekend. Stay with us. Watch the Glory Day Show with Bruce and Disco only on the Radio TV network. Coming right back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Welcome back to Gloria Day Show with Bruce and Disco here on the Inravio TV network. So what did we learn today?
Well, we talked a bit about rivalries, although, we didn't touch on some of the bigger ones. I mean, we didn't talk about the Yankees and the Red Sox is probably the ultimate rivalry, don't you think? I mean,
and I think, again, that type of rivalry, even though it's geographic because it's the Northeast, I think that also is born about playing each other in the division.
Yeah, that's right.
You
That's
play
right.
each other 10, 15 times, during the course of the regular season.
Familiarity breeds contempt.
Plus they've had, they've had some fantastic playoff battles.
Oh, sure, for sure.
And I think that's, the Mets have gone through a couple of rivalries. Remember, our rivals used to be the Cubs.
Yeah.
And then it went
then
from
there was
the
the
Cubs
Braves.
to the Braves. It was the Cardinals in the 80s, the Braves in the 90s. And now it's the Nationals. I mean, the Phillies, they're like our
The Sillies. The Sillies.
We just don't like the fans.
Yeah.
Because they think that they're better than us.
But here's
You
a
think
couple
you're
of
better than me?
Here's a couple other ones. Bears Packers. I know that our friend
Jerry Schwartzman,
Jerry loves it. He loves to berate the Packers every chance
The
he gets.
Fudge Packers, he calls them.
There's there's a fair amount of NHL ones. I think the Canadiens Maple Leafs is a good one. I think the Canadiens and Boston Bruins is a good one there too. Lakers Celtics.
Lakers Celtics,
Yeah.
and again, that's one that's not geographic
That's
at
right,
all.
that's right.
So that's purely born out of playoffs.
And sometimes it's just two personalities, and I don't know how far the Lakers Celtics go back, but I think about Magic and
Larry Bird.
And Larry Bird is a good one there
Sure.
too.
Well, there was also Bill Russell and Chamberlain.
Will Chamberlain, that's
and
right.
and Alcindor.
That's right.
Alcindor.
Yeah.
Boy, that
and the Giants and the
does that date
Dodgers.
me if I'm calling him Lou Alcindor?
Well, where's Edgar? Because Powell Memorial, man. I remember Edgar was telling us a story that he went to one of those basketball clinics.
Yeah.
And he was pulled out from the crowd, and he played with it was Lou Alcindor back then. He said, and Lou Alcindor, he said, was throwing elbows around like he was going.
Well,
it was nobody's business.
For a guy like me playing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Yeah.
if he wanted to throw an elbow, he's got to come down really
Yeah, that's
low
right.
to
That's
throw
right.
an elbow in my
Yeah.
head. Otherwise, he's going to miss me by 2 feet.
Now the Giants Dodgers. I mean, I guess that was a rivalry. It was born in New
Right.
York. I think it's still alive and well out in California. And it's kind of strange. We didn't talk about this during the show, but I guess they were both engaged in negotiations to get Zach Greinke. And you know where he wound up?
Arizona.
He just signed with Arizona. Well, I mean, I'm not sure it was
contract
official yet.
ever, the highest per annum. And actually, yesterday, as we were going to the Barclays Center, that was where they were going to put the new Ebbets Field.
Right, exactly.
And
exactly.
Robert Moses, said no. They're not putting a stadium there. They want to put it in Flushing.
Exactly, which is where Shea Stadium wound up being.
Right, and Walter O'Malley said, no, we're the Brooklyn Dodgers. We're not moving to Queens.
Yeah.
And he went to Los Angeles and took the Giants with him.
That's right. Well, he needed to do something because he just couldn't be the only team on the West Coast there.
Right.
Oh,
wrap it up.
Okay.
Like this? Wrap it up. Thanks to our producers, Kyle Melnick and Eric Mikhailov, for all their hard work and making us look so good out there. Thanks to our guest, Brian Gallof, for helping us out today with the Islanders. You can catch his Islanders podcast on Ilesbeat.com. And his blog post on the fourth period. Thanks again, Chuck and Bonnie, putting up for this nonsense week after week. And of course, thanks to you, our loyal viewers. Don't forget, check out the Glory Days On Demand page on www.inravio.com, and you can watch any of our past shows or any of the other great shows on the Inravio TV network. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And don't order the chicken fingers.
Let's go Jets.
Let's go Jets.
All right. Let's go Islanders.